gosh, what's the word now? Now I can't think of the word. Sinaiticus. Codex Sinaiticus. All those Bibles have started adopting Codex Sinaiticus.
Which is?
So it's a translation that was found. They call all the old translations Codex. One they found at the bottom of Mount Sinai, Codex Sinaiticus, which, for my money, it's a forgery.
Is that where Moses threw the 10 Commandments and broke them up?
It's there was a monk, a monastery up there, and they found this transcript there. They called it Codex Sinaiticus. Many of these modern translations, the NIV, a bunch of these other things, they've adopted that now as the primary source behind what they're writing.
Seriously.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Right.
It isn't good. But does everybody see that the power of grace abounding in our lives is found in walking in God's life?
Yes.
What does it mean to walk in God's life?
That you understand where your source of life comes from.
Yeah.
It comes, and that you don't try to achieve anything in your own strength.
Is there any lack in God's life?
None.
No, Jeff.
Can you add to God's life?
Nope.
Can you take from God's life?
Nope.
Can you steal from God's life? Can you kill God's life?
No.
Can you overcome God's life?
No.
Can you corrupt God's life?
No way.
Can God's life be decayed?
Never.
Can it be kept from any good thing?
No.
Okay. So, it's called the Word of Life. John says that which was from the beginning. The Word of Life. We've held it, we've touched it. The Word of God's life. The makeup of it, the DNA of it, the genetics of His life, it consists of something. It's woven of a certain fabric or material that contains all the things we just talked about.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Now, as we walk in the Word of that life, and we walk in it from the perspective of that life is our life,
Yes.
it animates us with a supernatural strength
Yeah.
as we walk in this earth. The sufficiency behind our life is no longer the life in the world. Have you ever noticed when let's say things are going good for you this week? Let's say everything went, not like for Birdie. Let's say everything went amazingly well for you this week. Have you noticed what that feels like?
Mm-hmm.
It feels good, doesn't it? You feel like there's a strength
Right.
behind you,
Right.
right? I mean, you feel like, well, bam. You want to do a little jig, maybe get a little booty bump with whoever you're with, like that, right? And so there's a strength that comes from walking in the Word of a life that is not able to be decayed.
Right.
And not only can it not be decayed, but when decay comes upon it, it swallows the decay. When corruption tries to come upon it, it swallows the corruption. Right? And so when you walk in that life, the Word of that life, and you start finding yourself believing that you've been braided together with that life, that it's more impossible to separate you from that life than it is to separate God from Himself.
Right.
When you begin walking in that, there's a supernatural strength that comes behind you. There's a vitality that you're infused with. There's like a strength that you're conceived in, a sufficiency that you're conceived in. And it causes you to just be like full of dunamis, right? And you walk in the earth that way, having all sufficiency in all things, right? I don't think we realize what it's like to walk in the earth actually believing that we have all sufficiency in all things. I mean, I'm just being honest. We walk in life weighing everything out to determine where it is we lack.
Exactly.
And how it is we lack. And then how horrible we feel about the lack.
Right.
Instead of walking in the Word of God's life. I'm not saying that there's any shame. We feel weakness. But we feel weakness and we feel smacked around. We start fellowshipping with the fact that we've been braided together with God's life. And we start thinking about how God's life swallows decay. God's life swallows corruption. God's life fills all things.
Yeah.
Right? He is all and in all. And He's in me. And in any empty spaces or any void or any darkness or blackness I encounter, the life that's in me is so much that it will even fill all that out with life. Right?
Yeah.
Man, when you believe that, it does something to you when you walk in the earth. right? And that's what Jesus was telling the disciples was going to come upon them. This is what Paul was talking about in Romans, about how is grace going to abound in our lives? How are we going to find ourselves becoming slaves to righteousness? How are we going to find ourselves walking in this earth, being clothed upon with the fruit of God's life, and finding the manifestation of God's life flowing out of us like a river of living water, where when people come around you, they don't just get wet because you spit on them when you talk, but when they come around you, they get wet because of the river of living water that's pouring out of you. Right?
Yes.
Where when you get stoned to death up on a hill, you get back up from the dead and you go down into the next town and you preach the same thing. Now, do you think Paul was considering what he looked like?
No.
And then he just died on the ground. You think Paul went to the hospital before he went into Galatia? You think Paul's like, I need some ointment. I need to find a balm. I just got stoned to death after all. Don't you know? You think he was considering that?
No.
You know what he was considering? That he's infused with the life of God. And he got back up and he went down to the next town.
Yeah.
Right? And so people ask me all the time, Greg, why do you preach so much about life and death? Death is what causes us to feel weakness.
Yeah.
It's what tries to steal the strength in our lives. It's what makes us feel defeated, fragile, weak, empty, right? But life is the thing that causes us to feel full, right? And so the more we talk about the life of God and what the life of God looks like and how it lorded it over sin and death, and that we've been braided together with that life, and we talk about what this life does to sin and death and how the makeup of it, and we begin being persuaded that that's our life. Man, when we walk through this earth, it's going to change everything. You ain't going to care if people like you or not. You're not going to be trying to be justified in people's eyes. You're not going to be worried thinking about what do they think about you? What do they think about your life? You're not going to be worried about whether your wife likes you or not, or whether your husband likes you or not. You hope they like you, but you're not going to be all distraught about it, right? You're not going to be busy fighting with one another. You're not going to be trying to be justified from your spouse, or from a spouse, or from the world. You're going to lose sight of that because you're going to be busy with a life that can't lack. And it's all the time in every situation going to tell you there is no lack. It's all the time in every situation going to tell you you have sufficiency, all sufficiency in all things. Right? This guy, Chaz, came with his wife, Brittany, to see us from Michigan a little while ago. And he said something interesting to me, and I'm going to butcher everything that he said after it. But he said he's like a basket that you can just keep pulling out of it. You just keep pulling out of it. Right? It's like when Jesus passed around the fish and the loaves.
Right.
Did it look like there was lack there? Did Jesus think there was lack?
No, he did not.
The
Everybody
disciples
else did.
thought there was lack,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And they were even distraught about it.
Yes.
But Jesus was busy with the life that can't lack. And that in the presence of lack, he was busy with the life that fills all things and is all and in all. And he acted according to the fact that he was busy with that life. That life was the power behind what he did there. When he saw what was going on there, the reason he did what he did is because he knew the life that he had with the Father. He knew what that life looked like. He knew what that life was. He knew what that life could do. Right? And so he just did it.
Yeah.
And what kept coming out of the baskets? Fish and loaves.
Yeah.
Fish and loaves. Fish and loaves. You guys see that?
Yes.